Ouais, maulize kule, maulize. Bachunge. Walikuwa wasi. Wote wale. Hakuna wengine.
A Hotel Rwanda film hero Paul Rusesabagina expected to be released from prison after being sentenced to 25 years in jail in 2021 on terrorism charges. Indian politician Rahul Gandhi is disqualified from parliament ahead of next year's general election. Opposition parties call it an attack on democracy. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrives in the UK as protesters take to the streets against his policies. Adding color and flavor to Ramadan, people in Gaza observe the fasting month in the shadow of conflict and blockade.
I'm Gemma Nash with sport. Qualifying for Euro 2024 has begun. England start their campaign with a win as captain Harry.
So Paul Rusesabagina, the man whose story was featured in the Hollywood film Hotel Rwanda, is due to be released from prison. In 2021, he was sentenced to 25 years on terrorism charges tied to an organization opposed to Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Rusesabagina worked as the manager of a hotel in Kigali during the 1994 genocide and saved the lives of more than 1,200 people. Malcolm Webb is joining us from Goma. Malcolm, what are you learning?
We've heard from the Rwandan government that Paul Rusesabagina is to be released either later today or possibly on Sunday, in spite of 1.5 years ago having been sentenced to 25 years for terrorism, as you said. Now, we know that the US has been putting pressure on the Rwandan government for his release. Rusesabagina has a permanent right to live in the United States. President Paul Kagame of Rwanda is mentioned this once or twice over the last month, saying that this situation at some point might be resolved. Now, Rwandan government sources have said that Rusesabagina has written a letter to President Kagame pleading clemency. We don't know if that's true or not, but it would certainly be at odds with everything that Rusesabagina and his associates have said since he was detained in August 2020 in what was widely described as a kidnapping or abduction. He was in Dubai at the time and was deceived and boarded a plane that was paid for by Rwanda's government and flown to Kigali against his will. His detention and trial followed that, and throughout the trial he refused to participate. He said it wasn't fair, as did international legal watchdogs and rights groups.
Malcolm, put a little bit more context, and you've begun to do so, context around this for us, because Paul Rusesabagina is considered a hero by many internationally and then convicted on terrorism charges domestically.
Well, he had become a critic of Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, and there was some videos on YouTube that indicated that he was affiliated with a political opposition group that was also connected to an armed group here in Democratic Republic of Congo that wanted to overthrow Rwanda's government. This was evidence that Rwanda said indicated that he was guilty of the crimes with which he was eventually tried, but legal rights groups say that evidence was never presented meaningfully in court in that trial that they said was unfair. Now, political opposition and rights groups in Rwanda have for decades documented disappearances, assassinations and detentions of government critics.
Reka rero twihuse cyane tudatinze tugaruke kuri izi breaking news, nta makuru mashya cyane agiye hanze. Aragaruka ku witwa Paul Rusesabagina ndetse na Sankara Calixte aho bagiye gufungurwa. Tugiye gukomeza tubirebera hamwe gatanu kuri gatanu muri inkuru yacu irambuye. nongeye kuguha ikaze rero tudatinze gatanu kuri gatanu reka turebere hamwe ibijyanye n'aya makuru yemeza ko Rusesabagina na Sankara bagiye gufungurwa nyuma y'imyaka 2 yonyine. Paul Rusesabagina na Nsabimana Calixte bahamijwe ibyaha by'iterabwoba bagiye gufungurwa nkuko bimaze kwemezwa, bakaba bari gufungurwe kuri uyu wa gatanu ku mbabazi za Perezida wa Repubulika y'Igihugu cy'u Rwanda, nkuko amakuru yizewe kuri ubu ngubu bakomeje kugera kuri RwandapaparazziTV akomeza abyemeza. Urukiko rukuru urugereko ruburanisha ibyaha mpuzamahanga n'ibyaha byambukiranya imbibi muri Nzeri 2021 rwakatiye Rusesabagina gufungwa imyaka 25 naho Nsabimana Calixte Sankara akatirwa imyaka 20 ni nyuma yo kubahamya ibyaha by'iterabwoba bifitanye isano n'ibitero byakozwe n'umutwe wa MRCD-FRN ni mu nkengero z'ishyamba rya Nyungwe mu myaka ya 2018 ndetse na 2019. Icyo gihe umutwe wa MRCD-FRN wayoborwaga na Rusesabagina, Nsabimana akawubera umuvugizi. Muranabyibuka uburyo yigambaga ibitero bitandukanye. Ni muri ibyo bitero rero hishwe abantu 11 barimo abana 3. Ni ibitero byakomerekeyemo benshi, imitungo yabo irangizwa, indi irasahurwa. Twanagiye tubikomozaho mu makuru atandukanye twagiye tubagezaho. Muri Mata rero 2022 urukiko rw'ubujurire rwagumishijeho igifungo cy'imyaka 25 yose. Urukiko rukuru rwahamije Rusesabagina ni mu gihe Nsabimana Sankara yagabanyirijwe igihano avanwa ku myaka 20 ahanishwa imyaka 15 ni nyuma yo gutakamba ndetse akanorohereza urukiko, nkuko nawe ubwe yagiye abigaruka mu gihe bitandukanye. N'urubanza rwari rumaze igihe kuko nka Nsabimana Calixte Sankara yatangiye kuburana muri Gicurasi umwaka wa 2019. Amakuru aravuga ko icyemezo cyo kubafungura gitangazwa kuri uyu wa gatanu ni nyuma y'iminsi bitangiye kugenda bivugwaho n'umukuru w'igihugu cy'u Rwanda ubwe yabikomojeho. Bagiye gufungurwa rero nyuma y'uko Rusesabagina yandikiye umukuru w'igihugu cy'u Rwanda nyakubahwa Perezida Paul Kagame asaba imbabazi, ndetse akaba yariyemeje kutazongera kugira uruhare urwo ari rwo rwose mu byaha bisa na biriya, kandi akaba yariyemeje ko agiye gufatanya n'abanyarwanda ndetse akaba agiye gukorera urwamubyaye. Biteganyijwe ko bazasohoka muri gereza mu gitondo cyo kuri uyu wa gatandatu. Amakuru aravuga ko Rusesabagina azahita yerekeza muri Katari, nyuma y'iminsi mike akazakomereza muri Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika aho afite uburenganzira bwo gutura. Ubwo yaburanaga Rusesabagina yageze aho yivana mu rubanza, avuga ko atizeye ko hazabona ubutabera no mu bujurire yanze kwitabira iburanisha, nkuko n'ubundi RwandapaparazziTV icyo gihe yakomeje kugenda ibagezaho amakuru. Nubwo rero ubushinjacyaha bwamusabiraga gufungwa burundu, umucamanza yamugumishirijeho imyaka 25 kubera ko kuba ari ubwa mbere yarakoze icyaha nk'impamvu nyoroshya cyaha. Nsabimana we yagabanyirijwe igihano kubera kwicuza ndetse akorohereza ubutabera. Ni muri uku kwezi nari nabikomojeho nyakubahwa Perezida Paul Kagame yatangaje ko hari ibiganiro bihari ku kibazo cya Rusesabagina ku buryo rero ashobora kuba yarekurwa ku mbabazi. Yabitangaje mu kiganiro yatanze mu nama mpuzamahanga yiga ku mutekano w'isi Global Security Forum iri kubera i Doha muri Qatar. Perezida Kagame yavuze ko amateka y'u Rwanda yagiye yerekana ko ari igihugu gishaka kujya mbere, rimwe na rimwe rero kigafata ibyemezo bamwe bavuga ko bitanashoboka. Yatanze urugero ku buryo n'abahamijwe ibyaha bikomeye cyane nka jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi bababariwe bakabasha gusubira mu muryango nyarwanda. Ati hari ibiri gukorwa kuko ntabwo turi abantu bafunze umutwe badashaka kujya mbere. Ugiye no mu mateka yacu hari aho twageze dutanga imbabazi ku byaha bitababarirwa, abantu bagize nk'uruhare muri jenoside n'ibindi, abo bose twagiye tubababarira. Benshi rero muri abo bararekuwe, nukubera iyo myumvire yo kudashaka guheranwa n'amateka. Umukuru w'igihugu cy'u Rwanda rero nyakubahwa Perezida Paul Kagame yavuze ko hari ubwo kugira ngo igihugu kijye mbere bisaba ikiguzi kinini, ariko nanone guheranwa n'amateka mu gihe wari ukeneye kujya mbere nibyo bihenze cyane kurushaho, nk'uko umukuru w'igihugu cy'u Rwanda yabikomojeho. Kuva Rusesabagina yafatwa, ibihugu nka Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika abereye umuturage n'Ububiligi afitiye ubwenegihugu byakomeje gusaba ko yarekurwa, ariko umukuru w'igihugu cy'u Rwanda akomeza kugaragaza ko atarekurwa kubera ibyaha yakoze, ariko nanone nyuma aza gufata uwo mwanzuro nubwo ukomeye nk'uko nawe yabikomojeho. Ibyo byose rero bikaba bikozwe ku iterambere ry'igihugu nk'ikiguzi kinini kubera uruhare u Rwanda kuri ubu ngubu rufite mu bijyanye n'iterambere n'ibindi nk'uko umukuru w'igihugu cy'u Rwanda yabikomojeho. Ngayo nguko rero iby'iyi nkuru byo tugiye gukomeza kubikurikiranira hafi. Ni amakuru nagusezeranya ko uyu munsi ariyo yonyine ndakomeza kwibandaho ngewe, turayakurikirana afunguwe kugeza ageze muri Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika. Nzakomeza kugenda nyabagezaho 5 kuri 5. Icyo usabwa wowe ni ugukanda subscribe aho hasi, ubundi ayo makuru yose nawe ukazakomeza kuyabonera ku gihe.
We are not people who want to get stuck in one place and not make any movement forward for whatever reason. As you know, even our history, when we have wanted to move on and make this progress we talked about earlier, we came to a point where we forgave the unforgivable. That's how people, even who got involved in the genocide and so on and so forth, most of them have found themselves back into freedom. We don't get stuck with our past. There is a discussion that is looking at all possible ways of resolving that issue without compromising the most fundamental aspects of that case. And I think there's always going to be a way forward.